Part 37. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 361. Chapter 361 Drunk Confession, I like Yezikin the most. Suyuchin chased out unwillingly, and soon caught up with Yezikin, who was holding Yewei. Please wait a moment. Suyuchin blocked Yezikin's path. Yezikin glanced at him. What's the matter? I'm curious, are you really her brother? Suyuchin met Yezikin several times, but he always heard Yewei call him brother, and did not ask what the brother's name was. A ridiculous scene happened today. The so-called Chen is not mourning but Chen. Fortunately, he was the only one who was drunk that night. If he had been sober, he would have really been a fool. However, when Suyuchin was reminded that their siblings had different surnames, he couldn't help but ask. Yezikin answered him firmly, no. Suyuchin frowned and asked, why? What's your relationship? Yezikin chuckled, first, I have no obligation to answer you, second, I warn you, don't try to trick her. Suyuchin felt very uncomfortable and finally expressed his feelings completely, I like Xiao Li. However, these words were said in front of Yezikin, which was doomed to tragedy. Yezikin just said coldly, not caring about him at all, that's your business. Suyuchin wanted to be brave today. If you are not brothers and sisters, then you also like Xiaoling, right? Me. Yezikin suddenly felt that this young and frivolous boy was quite interesting, and actually asked this question in front of him. However, since the trouble was caused by the drunk girl in her arms, it would be best for her to solve it herself. Yezikin lowered his eyes and deliberately lowered his voice to seduce, Little Belle, tell me, who do you like best? Brother, little Lingdang likes my brother the most, she giggled after shouting without thinking at all. Yezikin followed her answer and asked, who is my brother? Yewei snorted, you are so stupid. My brother's name is Yezikin, and I like Yezikin the most. Yezikin was very satisfied with her answer. Give Suyuchin one more look. Suyuchin stood there with no shame. Sorry, Suyuchin felt that his mind was confused now, so he left in a hurry. Yewei was so drunk that she didn't vomit, but she could not speak clearly. Little Lingdang, you really, will find a love rival for me. They didn't hang up the phone just now. Yezikin listened to everything Suyuchin said word for word. The little girl who doesn't know what the boy calls him is coveting him. I really don't know whether to be happy about the little girl's excellence or to be angry. But seeing the little girl in front of him was so drunk, he remembered the promise that someone made when he went out today, I will definitely only eat and not drink. I will never drink. How did you know that she would get drunk if she touched alcohol? Yezikin carried her into the car and saw her puffing out her cheeks in a cute manner. He deliberately pinched the tip of her nose and said, Little Belle, I will really be angry. Yewei tilted his head and asked confusedly, why is Brother Chen angry? Because of you. Then you won't be angry if I kiss him, okay? Yewei took the initiative to move her head towards him and smiled at him. Yezikin grabbed her wrist and pulled her closer, of course. Yezikin is as cunning as a fox, waiting for some stupid drunk girl to jump into the trap. Yewei didn't feel any danger at all, and he felt very proud when he kissed her. Please give me a dozen drunken little bells. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 362. Chapter 362 College Entrance Examination Scores, exactly the same. After a few days, it's finally time to check the college entrance examination results. Yewei sat in front of the computer, staring intently at the page to enter the system, with his hands cupped in a praying posture, you must pass the exam, you must pass the exam. When the time display in the lower right corner of the computer changed to midnight, Yewei placed the mouse on the location where the account password had already been entered, and clicked in with his eyes closed. When she couldn't help but open her eyes to look, a big, gentle hand covered her eyes. "Don't move, I'll help you. Brother, please tell me quickly," she was almost nervous to death. "Well." Ye Wei suddenly heard a sigh from above her head, and she became even more nervous. "Brother, what are the results? Don't scare me, I'm scared." "Tisk, it's different from how you usually lean on me." "Ah," she almost cried. Ye Wei's usual scores are very stable, basically fluctuating within 10 points. If it's different from his usual scores, what does it matter? Her usual test scores are considered high, but hearing from Yezikin's tone, it seems a lot worse. Could it be that her performance is abnormal? "Brother, I'm sorry for you." She was already feeling depressed before she even looked at the score. Yezikin looked down at the little girl's crestfallen expression. After all, he was still reluctant to tease her anymore. "Idiot, see for yourself how good your grades are." "What?" Ye Wei raised her head suddenly, and her forehead hit Yezikin's chin, causing her to cry out in pain. Yezikin touched his chin and groaned. Ye Wei didn't care whether he was hurt by the hit or not. He looked directly at the computer with his round eyes wide open. When she saw the score, she was so surprised that she was speechless. I, brother, 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 I. She stammered and didn't know what to say. Because of this college entrance examination, she actually performed exceptionally well and scored 20 points more than estimated based on her usual average scores. 20 points, what an important score that is. "Oh my God, brother, I can really go to your school?" "Certainly." She exceeded the score line by nearly dozens, which can be said to be very stable. "The only thing that makes me happy at night is that I can't find the north." Many people in the class were handing out their scores, and Lu Biang was just average, getting a second-level score. But he is very calm in the group, and there should be it at Yuchen at here, but there is no Gu Yi. These are the top academics in the class, and of course everyone cares about their grades. Ye Wei was embarrassed to post it, but the whole class followed it. Seeing Shen Nianan showing off his results without fear, Ye Wei also sent the screenshot. At that time, the entire class was flooded with two words. Such a high score, could it be unbelievable? This score is a few points higher than the top scorer in our city's college entrance examination last year. The squad leader is the squad leader. If you don't make a sound, you will be a blockbuster. The classmates praised her for a while, and someone asked, "Where's Su Yuchen's?" "I have it." Lu Biang sent out a somewhat blurry picture. One look at the tricky angle and it was clear that it was taken secretly by him. But when the picture is opened, the numbers are still very clear. Immediately afterwards, another two words were copied in the group, again double, "Damn it! Damn it! Hey, these two people must be poisonous." Not only did they get high marks in the test, they also got exactly the same score. How many years does this happen to you? We are about to enter college life. Will these two legends be the golden boys and girls? Rubbing hands excitedly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 363. Chapter 363. Yuan Ran is getting engaged. Ye Wei silently exited the group message page and poked Yuan Ran privately. "An Ran, how did you do in the exam?" Yuan Ran did not reply. Yezikin, however, threw a red gold invitation card to her side and said, "Yuan Ran is getting engaged." "What?" Ye Wei almost dropped his cell phone. 1 second she was asking about Yuan Ran's grades, and the next second she heard, "Engagement." "Brother Chen, are you kidding me? See for yourself, this is an invitation." The Yu family didn't send many invitations, but they were all powerful people in S city. This engagement, which represented interests, was inevitable. What's going on? And Ran just graduated from high school. For the reading age, she is a high school graduate, but for the Yu family, she is already an adult who is over 19 years old. Being born in that kind of family, the age of 19 is no longer the time to just study. Most of the things they do are tied to the development of the family, such as Yu and Ran's engagement. In fact, as the heroine of the engagement party, Yu and Ran only found out about it the day before the engagement. That day MRSU did not let Yu and Ran go out to attend the graduation reception, so she took her to try on dresses. An engagement is not a wedding, and the dress is not special, so Yu and Ran didn't find any clues. She just thought that her mother was going to attend some banquet by herself. Unexpectedly, she would be informed, getting ready. Yu and Ran retorted and refused at that time, but MRSU didn't listen to her at all. Yu and Ran was about to leave, but MRSU banned her and sent someone to guard her bedroom. Assistant Sun came in to persuade her, "Miss, you have to know how hard it has been for Madam to support this huge Yu family all by herself for so many years. As long as you are engaged to the heir of the Yu group, our two families will benefit from each other and everything will be wonderful." "I won't agree. Miss, with all due respect, tomorrow's engagement banquet is very important. Many prestigious people have been invited. If something goes wrong with you, neither the Yu family nor the Yu family can afford to lose this person. Since you know you can't afford to embarrass anyone, why do you do this without my permission? Miss, let me tell you the truth. In fact, the Yu family has financial problems. Only by joining hands with the Yu group can we overcome the difficulties. Madam told me not to tell you, but I can't bear to see Madam carry it all alone. As you, Miss family, please share the burden for Madam." Assistant Sun said every word that hurt his heart. Yu and Ran shook his head and pointed at the door. "I don't believe it. Get out." Assistant Sun wanted to say something more, but Yu and Ran no longer wanted to hear it. "Go out." "I'm going out, but please think carefully, miss." As soon as Assistant Sun went out, Yu and Ran's room was locked. Yu and Ran tried to open the door, but there was no response at all. Damn it! They also deliberately blocked new accounts in the room, so that mobile phone calls could not be made and computers could not connect to the internet. Yu and Ran was locked in a room and couldn't go anywhere. The windows are welded with iron, so there is no possibility of escape like in the TV series. The next day, Assistant Sun brought the maid in and asked her to change clothes. Yu and Ran threw jewelry and other things directly on the ground. But it was useless. Assistant Sun clapped his hands and a spare one was sent in. "You are really determined to get me married." Assistant Sun suddenly took out a document and handed it to her. "Miss, what I told you yesterday is true. You can read this document about Yojia Company, and check the current situation online." When the truth was revealed, Yu and Ran completely gave up resistance. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 364. Chapter 364, Do you remember Bei yet? The engagement party between Yu and Ran and Mr. Yu was held as scheduled. Ye Wei was brought to the scene by Yezikin. She was particularly awkward. She wanted to meet Yu and Ran in advance, but Yu and Ran's family wouldn't let her. "I'm sorry, Our Lady is preparing for the engagement banquet at this time. Please come with us." Those people took her to other resting places, but they did not let Yu and Ran see her. "And Ran, will you really agree to the engagement?" Ye Wei stood next to Yezikin with a solemn expression on his face. Yezikin knew a lot of things very well. "I'm afraid she has to agree even if she doesn't agree." "What's the meaning?" "As far as I know, the Yu family and the Yu family have always been close partners. Recently, the Yu family has had some problems. They probably want to use marriage to tie up that relationship. It's a good thing that the Yu family didn't abandon the Yu family at this time. Business marriage. She should have thought that Yuan Ran could not like anyone else, but in order to save the Yu family, she had to get engaged to the Yu family. Ye Wei was very worried. Brother, can you help her? Yezikin shook his head to shatter her hope and said, this is a matter between two families, and we are not qualified to interfere. What should An Ran do? Yuan Ran is a smart person and she will make her own choices. Yes, only choice was that she couldn't see Yuan Ran and had no idea what she was planning in her heart. She could only feel sad for Yuan Ran silently. At this time, Assistant Sun suddenly walked towards them. After nodding in greeting, Assistant Sun politely said to Ye Wei, Miss Jiao, Our Lady invites you to come in and talk about old times. Hey, is it true? Let's go. She was eager to meet Yuan Ran. Assistant Sun respectfully led her to Yuan Ran's temporary lounge. In fact, it was Yuan Ran who requested to see Qiao Lian, and the prerequisite for agreeing to this request was that, Yuan Ran had already agreed to get engaged. As soon as Ye Wei entered, Yuan Ran asked everyone around him to step back. At first, those people refused to leave, and Yuan Ran's face darkened. Since I promised, I will not go back on my word. Go out. Assistant Sun signaled to those people, and they left one by one, leaving Ye Wei and Yuan Ran their own space. Ye couldn't hold back for a moment. An Ran, have you agreed to get engaged? Yeah, I agreed. Why? You definitely don't like that Mr. Yu. Does it matter whether I like it or not? It's enough if their family can help our family. How could you compromise so easily? You should have told us earlier, maybe we could help you think of a solution. Actually, forget it, that's it. What she wanted to say was that she had been kept in the dark. It's really funny, the mother deliberately concealed it, and at the last moment, she was forced to submit. Xiao Li, I didn't meet you to make suggestions to resist, I just feel that you are too lonely and want to see your only friend. Yuan Ran rarely made friends with others, and the 3 years of high school when she met Ye Wei were truly a magical fate. They chatted for a while, and soon Assistant Sun knocked on the door to remind, Miss An Ran, Miss Jiao, the time is up. I know, I will go down. Ye Wei felt panicked. He grabbed Yuan Ran when she was about to step out of the door and asked quietly, do you remember Bei yet? Yuan Ran was silent for dozens of seconds. Let's go, the engagement party is about to begin. Sit back and wait for Kitano to appear. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 365. Chapter 365, Being Taken Advantage of. The engagement banquet was not a big event, but the guests were all respectable people. A young handsome guy walked through the crowd. The skull mark printed on his T-sleeve was very special. His attire was also incompatible with the suit-clad style here, but he was carefully hidden in the crowd and watched the hero of the engagement party, the young Master Yu, and the heroine, the daughter of the Yu family, walk to the stage together. They were wearing similar styles of dresses, standing together like a pair of golden boys and girls. The guests who came and went praised them for their perfect match and that they were a match made in heaven. Mr. Yu's face was smiling, but Miss Yu's didn't look very happy. Those who know Yuan Ran have also heard that Miss Yu's family has an indifferent personality, but what they want in marrying a daughter-in-law is virtuousness and family ability. Surrounded by everyone, the engaged hero and heroine completed the first dance when the music played. There was a round of applause from the audience, except for one young man. He clenched his fist tightly, and the veins on the back of his hand looked like he was about to crush his fist. Especially, when he saw young Master Yu kissing the side of Miss Yu's face, he almost couldn't help but rush into the crowd to break all the laughter. Suddenly, he felt someone tapping him twice on the shoulder. He turned around and faced Yezikin's face that seemed to be smiling but not smiling. Yezikin looked at the man who was the same height as him and greeted him as if he were an old friend. B. Long time no see. Bay's eyes were deep. It's still you. It's me. I still ask you the same thing, what do you think about that deal? Yezikin seemed determined to make that deal with him. Bay really doesn't understand, why me? Yezikin looked at him intently, the corners of his lips raised slowly. I said, you are a strong person, and I appreciate the strong. He has always wanted to get the wolf skin of Bayet. As long as Kitano agrees to surrender, even if it is only for a short moment after the deal, he will definitely be extremely loyal. Young master yet. At this time, someone was holding a wine glass and wanted to come over to say hello to Yezikin, but B disappeared in a flash. Yuan Ran had just been kissed by Mr. Yu without noticing on the stage, so she quickly found an excuse to leave and go to the toilet to clean up. Ye Wei followed her and saw Yuan Ran rinse the water and wash the area on his face over and over again, as if he was disgusted with the virus, and wiped it with disinfectant wipes. It was obviously just a small spot, but she was forcefully rubbing it. A large area of red. Ye Wei hurriedly stretched out his hand to stop her behavior, and ran, stop torturing yourself. I feel dirty. Looking at her exquisite face after applying makeup in the mirror, she wished she could take off all disguises. She hated her helplessness, as if she had no choice but to separate from the person she loved. Why should I be born into the Yu family, why should I be Yuan Ran? If possible, I would rather be an ordinary person with freedom. And Ran. Ye Wei felt distressed watching from the side, but he couldn't feel the pain for her. Yuan Ran's life should have been smooth sailing, but she didn't want those external things. I want a real relationship, is it so difficult? Yuan Ran felt like he was going crazy. She suddenly said to Ye Wei, Xiaolian, actually I have thought about it for a long time. When I come here tonight, I will naturally have a way to get the two families to cancel the engagement. What you up to? Ye Wei had a bad premonition in his heart. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 366. Chapter 366 And Ran picked up the skull necklace. Yuan Ran left the toilet, no longer willing to enter that hypocritical place again. She and Ye Wei walked around to the back. There was a small pond here, which was one of the beauties of this hotel. Ye just came out of the hall, but he didn't expect to see Yuan Ran and Ye Wei walking towards them. While the two of them were not paying attention while they were talking, Kitano lowered his hat and ducked aside. Ye Wei tried to make Yuan Ran happy. An Ran, think of happy things. Yuan Ran shook his head, I don't have anything happy. Ye Wei raised his index finger and waved it in front of her eyes, everyone has happy things, how come you don't? Yuan Ran smiled lightly, or that expression was not a smile at all. She thinks, even if I was happy before, it's all in the past tense and there's nothing to say. Yes, only disapproval was, those happy memories cannot be erased with time. Yuan Ran hesitated for a moment, but said, I forgot about it a long time ago. Ye, who heard not far away, roughly listened to their conversation. His fingers were scratched when hanging on the tree, leaving traces of blood on them. I don't know why Mr. Yu ran out, came up to them, and said hello to them. The only thing that makes me angry is seeing him in the night. The young master of the Yu family showed his intention to talk to Yuan Ran alone after saying a few words. Yuan Ran said a few words to Ye Wei, who nodded and let go of her hand, that's it, I'm going to find my brother. Yuan Ran and Mr. Yu were left by the small pond. The two protagonists of the engagement party were standing here, and others were too embarrassed to disturb them. Mr. Yu said a few words and wanted to stir up the topic, but Yuan Ran was cold and unwilling to take up the topic. Although the two families have been in a cooperative relationship for many years, Mr. Yu and Yuan Ran have not met much. They have only heard about each other's personalities. Since Mr. Yu has agreed to the engagement, it means that he is satisfied with Yuan Ran's abilities in all aspects. It's just that Yuan Ran can be called the king of silence. In the end, he basically has nothing to say. Mr. Yu simply made it clear, I see that you are not very happy today. Are you willing to get engaged? Yuan Ran's expression changed, she stared at him coldly, and replied calmly, yes, willingly. Her eyes were cold and her tone was emotionless, which seemed more like sarcasm than anything else. But her back was to B, and B couldn't see her expression. Her words of willingness made B kick the tree in anger. Who is there? Baya accidentally exposed his whereabouts and left quickly. Yuan Ran and Mr. Yu ran after him to look, but saw no one. When Yuan Ran turned around, she suddenly stepped on a raised object. She raised her foot and saw that it seemed to be some kind of chain that had fallen into the grass. Mr. Yu bent down and picked up the things first. A silver-black skull hung on a silver-black chain. Yuan Ran's heart trembled, and she reached out and snatched the skull necklace and looked at it carefully. There was a small scratch on the skull. Yuan Ran held the necklace tightly, squatting on the spot and crying. B took out the card that Yezikin left a year ago, transferred all the money in the card, and changed his phone number to a new one and sent a message to Yezikin, happy cooperation. His use of the money was equivalent to agreeing to Yezikin's deal. Yezikin received the text message and added an L, the capital letter for wolf, to Bay's new number. Hug me, little beauty, and Ran is going to dissolve her marriage. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 367. Chapter 367. Yuan Ran committed suicide. The day after the engagement, an earth-shattering cry erupted from Yuan Ran's bedroom. The maid who served breakfast looked at Yuan Ran lying on the bed, and the red blood stain on her wrist was particularly obvious. Come here, the lady committed suicide. The maid's scream alarmed almost everyone in the Yu family. Yuan Ran was in the room and committed suicide by cutting his wrists. Fortunately, it was discovered early and measures were taken in time, so it did not cause a major disaster. MRSU, who was in a meeting at the company, rushed to the hospital. The first time she saw Yuan Ran, she almost slapped her again. But Yuan Ran just opened his eyes without any fear. MRSU can't take that slap no matter what. Yuan Ran, are you crazy? Yuan Ran's lips were pale and slightly opened. Mother, you want to get engaged? I did it, I want freedom, why don't you give it to me? MRSU was so angry that she said, block the news immediately. We must not let this matter get out. Yuan Ran knew that he had guessed correctly again. For the sake of the Yu family, my mother would definitely not let this scandal spread, but it was already too late, because she had already secretly conveyed the news of Miss Yu's suicide to the Yu family. The Yu family members rushed to the hospital, and Yuan Ran talked with Mr. Yu alone for a long time. You asked me yesterday if I was willing? I can tell you now, no. Yesterday, she was just repaying her mother and the Yu family for their kindness in raising her. Those guests were either rich or noble. If they escaped from the marriage, both of them would be blamed, so she could only agree to perform in a play. But it is an acting after all, and as soon as it begins, it will end. So it was up to her to end this unqualified drama as soon as possible. Yesterday, I saved my face. Of course, I can gradually dissolve the engagement in the future. Mr. Yu finally understood, are you, the Yu family, treating us as monkeys? I'm sorry, this is a fight or a fight. Yuan Ran committed suicide on the second day of their engagement. If this news got out, both families would be embarrassed, so they tacitly concealed the matter. It's just that the Yu family didn't dare to have another daughter-in-law who committed suicide like a lunatic. She directly told MRSU that she would find a suitable time to terminate the engagement when the limelight was over. Of course, the marriage contract also means the end of their cooperation. MRSU had a gloomy face when she saw you and ran again. You're a guy who succeeds but fails. How could I have left you as a debt collector in the first place? I've taken care of the Yu family's reputation, isn't that enough? You and ran, I know, you did it on purpose. You committed suicide, and then conveyed the news to the Yu family to make them unwilling to accept such a daughter-in-law, so I had to terminate the engagement. Madam Yu suddenly saw through her strategy. Yuan Ran was silent for a while, then nodded and said, yes. She never actually thought about taking her own life. As for cutting her wrists, she could bleed without risking her life. Yuan Ran, you really deserve to be my daughter, MRSU mocked coldly, and after saying these words, she never came again. Yuan Ran took out the skull necklace he carried with him and held it tightly in his hand. She knew that Beiya had been here. She wanted to see him, but she couldn't face him. She finally fought against her mother once, and it was a chance she risked her life for. She took out her mobile phone and dialed the number she had not contacted for a year but was familiar with it. Knock on the blackboard, don't forget the activities in the book review area. Physical gifts will be given to the top 3 in the weekly list, red envelopes will be given to the top 10 in the overall list, and 999 book coins will be given out on the 666th floor of the reward building. I hope the Kaibao people will try their best to use book coins to subscribe and support the first order. Kaibao people who are capable, hope that they can all order this book. The first order is very important for Chinese Valentine's Day and the performance of the book. I would like to express my 120,000 thanks. Currently giving back benefits to readers. Please see the pinned post in the book review area for details. Readership, 145016019, you can add it if you have fans or not. If the fan value exceeds 2,000 disciples and above, you can privately manage the 3.5-year-old to enter the VIP welfare group. Benefits will be distributed regularly every month, and events will be held from time to time in a small theater. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 368. Chapter 368 Nangang Luo and Li Yulai return home. In the blink of an eye, it's time to check the admission notice. The school hung up a banner with red cloth and black characters because their school produced 2 provincial champions this year. The principal's face is now shining brightly. When being interviewed by the TV station, he kept praising Ye Weiwei and Su Yuchen for their great achievements in the school. Ye Weiwei and Su Yuchen were squeezed together. The reporter interviewed them, talking about their studies and ideals. I heard that there are many legends about the 2 top picks. Their first choices were both G-City Finance College, but they both rejected the recommended places at the beginning, and now they got the exact same scores and were admitted to your first choice school. Did you guys negotiate this? This kind of thing is quite legendary when word spreads about it. It's quite embarrassing to say it. The 2 top scorers, a boy and a girl, were classmates. Although Ye Weiwei had always been among the best, he suddenly became the provincial top pick with exactly the same score as Su Yuchen. This was simply a dark horse among top academics. It is inevitable that some people will make fun of the relationship between Ye Weiwei and Su Yuchen. She clarified this time and time again, it's all just a coincidence. When those photos are sent out, it is not up to the editor to decide how to write the content. Shen Nianan and Meng Ziyi were admitted to the same medical school as they wished, and Yuan Ran was also admitted to Jose University. Gu Yiyi failed the college entrance examination and did not enter the heavy undergraduate program. Instead, she chose a school in G-City. It seems like people who have been together for 3 years have suddenly separated. Yezikin's S City accompanied Ye Wei for a month before he returned to G City because he had to deal with his company's affairs. Ye Wei didn't accompany him because Gong Qinli was back. They haven't seen each other for a long time, but they are not unfamiliar at all. Oh my god, you have changed so much that I almost don't recognize you. Which little fairy came down to earth to overcome the calamity? Li Yulai, you have changed a lot too. Foreign schools are not so rigid, and some even require students to learn how to put on makeup. Gong Qinli permed her straight hair into big waves, dyed it brown, put on light makeup, and had a charming eye. Gong Qinli's clothes are very fashionable. She is neither cute nor clear. She is the kind of woman who wants a face and a figure. When she gets older, she will definitely be a gorgeous beauty. The two of them were talking to each other about their love for each other at the airport. Suddenly, an angry male voice rang in their ears, "Gong Qinli, what the did you put in your suitcase? It's so heavy." Gong Qinli knew who was coming without even looking, and immediately shouted back rudely, "Why are you yelling like a grown man? Don't you know I'm a weak woman? Nangong Loxio, weak woman, you. A weak woman who can lift a man weighing 200 kilograms. Ahem, what nonsense are you talking about?" Looking at the way the two were quarreling, Ye Wei was laughing from ear to ear. These two people really haven't changed at all. Gong Qinli deliberately pulled Ye Wei forward. Although Nangong Luo complained, he still accepted his fate and dragged the suitcase. A young girl suddenly rushed out and ran to Nangong Luo. "Handsome guy, do you need help?" "Stop it, how can you let a beautiful woman do such a thing?" "Handsome guy, do you have a girlfriend?" Gong Qinli and Ye Wei were walking and found that Nangong Luo had not followed. When they turned around, they saw him standing with a strange girl. "Damn it, you can't walk when you see a woman, right?" Gong Qinli quickly walked back, holding Nangong Luo's hand. "My dear, what are you doing? It seems like every day someone in the book review section hopes that Li Yulai and Nangong Luo will be together." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 369. Chapter 369, Both boyfriend and girlfriend are fake. "Hello, beauty, do you know my boyfriend?" Gong Qinli held Nangong Luo's hand. Her movements and tone of voice were so natural, as if the scene had happened more than once. As soon as the girl heard that she called herself her girlfriend, she left in despair. Ye Wei pointed at the two of them in confusion. "When did you two get together? We don't know anything about it. When did the relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend become established? They haven't even invited them to dinner yet." "Of course you don't know, because..." Gong Qinli let go of Nangong Luo's hand, ran back to Ye Wei and held her hand, leaving half a sentence pretending to be mysterious. Nangong Luo replied feebly, "Because it's false." Bingo, correct answer. The two sang and harmonized in perfect harmony. It actually made Ye faint. "What on earth are you talking about?" "That's right, look at Luo and I's faces, we can say they are 99 points. We are inevitably pursued by people in school, so we thought of a way to help each other. Whenever a boy pesters Gong Qinli, Nangong Luo will immediately transform into Gong Qinli's boyfriend. When a woman falls in love with Nangong Luo, Nangong Luo will take Gong Qinli to his school for a walk and brush up on her face. Over the past 2 years, their cooperation has been very good." Ye Wei always felt strange after hearing this. "You might as well just stay together." Gong Qinli waved her hand. "How is that possible? We don't like each other." Nangong Luo added, "There is no spark of love." Ye Wei shook his head, and then shook his head. "These three people are the most playful. They have only been back in S City for 2 or 3 days, and they almost visited the entire city. Ye Wei has met her high school classmates several times, because those people all know that she is the top scorer in the college entrance examination. My only treasure, you are so amazing, you are actually the provincial champion and you are famous. My only sister, I'm amazed at your bones, you must be a good reader. Gong Qinli and Nangang Luo were generous with their praises, and Ye Wei was almost blown up to the sky. But she also has moments of worry. Don't worry, I will be looked at by monkeys when I go out now. Gong Qinli's last strike, then let's watch the monkey. But, if you make fun of me again, I will break off our relationship. Gong Qinli and Nangang Luo looked at each other and laughed silently. Because they all discovered that Ye Yi had not only changed his appearance, but his personality had also changed. Gong Qinli has a feeling that Ye Wei is gradually showing the cleverness he had before he was 7 years old. The three of them wandered around. When they were tired, they wanted to take a rest by the riverside surrounding the city. I'm so thirsty, Gong Qinli said unintentionally. Nangang Luo took the initiative and said, I'll buy water. You guys wait for me here. Gong Qinli raised her hand, I want to pulse. Ye Wei raised his hand and said, I want mineral water. Ye Wei had just sat down and looked around casually. Unexpectedly, he met an acquaintance. She took a second look, and Gong Qinli also looked over. What are you looking at? I know the grandma next to you. Yeah. Yes, you saw it before, but you may not remember it. Gong Qinli nodded, I really don't remember. Then I'll go over and say hello. I'll go with you. Gong Qinli has a cheerful personality and is willing to make friends regardless of her age. Mrs. Jiao and Ye Yi haven't seen each other for a long time, and this meeting was like an old acquaintance. Grandma, are you alone today? Mrs. Jiao shook her head, my granddaughter, go buy me some water. In the next chapter, I guarantee that Ye Wei, Li Mo'er, and Grandma Jiao will be present at the same time. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 370. Chapter 370, My granddaughter is the only one in the night. Wow, Grandma has always heard you mention your granddaughter before, but she has never seen her before. We can see her soon. Ye Wei was a little excited. Yes, she is about the same age as you. Maybe we can become good friends if we get to know each other. Mrs. Jiao was very happy that the little girl she liked met her granddaughter, and she even hoped that they could become friends. Li Mo'er met Nangang Luo when he was buying water. His baby face was particularly unforgettable. Li Mo'er tried to call him, Brother Nangang. Nangang Luo, whose name was called, looked up and was surprised that he didn't recognize Li Mo'er. Excuse me, who are you? Li Mo'er was taken aback and explained forcefully, I am Mo'er. Haha, I haven't recognized the female 18th changer yet, I'm so sorry. Nangang Luo was obviously perfunctory. Li Mo'er didn't hear it and was still complacent, maybe these two people have grown up too fast. I won't tell you any more. My two little ancestors over there are waiting for a drink of water. I'll leave first. Hey. Li Mo'er finally saw him. She originally wanted to take the opportunity to say a few more words to him, but she didn't expect Nangang Luo to be so disrespectful. Li Mo'er took 2 bottles of water and stamped his feet, so he had no choice but to go back. Today, Mrs. Jiao's assistant named Pei Yuchen had something to do, so she asked her to accompany the old lady for a day. Li Mo'er refused in her heart, but she had to keep her good face. Summer is very hot. At this time, you should stay in an air-conditioned room to enjoy the coolness, but the old lady insists on saying that she likes the evening breeze by the river. It feels stylish and makes her sweat. Now she has to buy water. She runs her own errands, which is really annoying. But she couldn't say it. Li Mo'er complained as he walked back, but unexpectedly found Nangang Luo right in front of him. She jogged a few steps to catch up, and happened to have returned to the riverside. Nangong Luo looked around and saw that the two ancestors were running to the side and seemed to be chatting animatedly with an old lady. At this time, Li Mo'er also caught up, holding 2 bottles of water, and awkwardly met Ye Weiwei and Gongkin Li. They didn't know each other at first, but before they arrived, all these young people knew each other. Mrs. Jiao took Li Mo'er's hand and introduced them enthusiastically. "Look, this is my granddaughter I just told you about. Her name is Mo'er, and she is in the same grade as you." Li Mo'er listened in surprise to Mrs. Jiao's introduction to her. In the past 2 years, Mrs. Jiao has sometimes introduced herself as her granddaughter to others, but Li Mo'er saw through it but did not tell the truth. But just a year ago, Li Mo'er solved the problem and discovered the truth. Mrs. Jiao came back to find her granddaughter, but the person she was really looking for was Ye Weiwei. Before Mrs. Jiao could warmly introduce Ye Weiwei and their identities, Li Mo'er directly covered her stomach, frowning and looking uncomfortable. "Grandma, I feel a little uncomfortable in my stomach." "What's wrong? What's going on?" "Maybe it's because I had a bad stomach before." "Let's go, Grandma will accompany you to the hospital." In Mrs. Jiao's eyes, Li Mo'er is her granddaughter. When her granddaughter is sick, she must be more anxious than anyone else and can't care about other things. "Little girl, I'll introduce you to you next time I have a chance. Let's go first." The 3 of them watched Mrs. Jiao and Li Mo'er get into the car. "That's not right, didn't Li Mo'er's grandma pass away long ago?" Nangong Luo still knows a little about Li Mo'er's family affairs. End of this chapter.